Welcome to the Free Library. My name is Andy Cahan, Director of Events, and I'm excited to have our guest back this evening. Camille Paglia is the University Professor of Humanities and Media Studies at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, where she has taught since 1984. She received her BA from the State University of New York at Binghamton in 1968, and her MPhil and PhD degrees from Yale University in 1971 and 74, respectively. Her prior books include Sexual Personae, Art and Decadence from Nefertiti to Emily Dickinson, Sex, Art, and American Culture, Vamps and Tramps, New Essays, Break, Blow, Burn, Camille Paglia reads 43 of the world's best poems, and Glittering Images, A Journey Through Art from Egypt to Star Wars. Her next original essay collection will be released in fall 2018, so we'll expect to see every one of you back here then, if not sooner. Professor Paglia was a co-founding contributor and columnist for Salon.com, beginning with its debut issue in 1995. She has written numerous articles on art, literature, pop culture, feminism, education, religion, and politics for publications around the world, a good number of which you'll find in the collection we're here to discuss tonight: Free Women, Free Men, Sex, Gender, Feminism. Please join me in welcoming Camille Paglia.
So I have this new book. Okay. You know, I had thought I was done with these subjects. Okay? I thought, okay, that I had stomped, okay, on political correctness. Okay? And I went back to teaching and writing. I didn't have to go back in public again. I was writing on poetry, on art, on movies, etc. I felt so liberated. And now, okay, you know, class, okay, I'm back. Okay, I have to go back on the road again. Okay, this enormous surge of political correctness, and it's gotten even worse. Okay. People attacking speakers at Berkeley, okay, which is one of the great influences on me. Okay, when I arrived in college, 1964, fall of '64, it had just happened that spring. Mario Savio, the free speech movement, okay, a huge influence on me. Okay, right, the essence of the '60s, the essence, okay, was free speech, for free thought and free speech. What the heck happened? Okay, we've got the situation today where people go out, they have in their heads these slogans. Words, jargon words, loaded terms. Or we're against racism, sexism, homophobia. Who isn't? Okay, and so on. All right? And we are the forces of light. They are the forces of darkness. What kind of Manichaean, simplistic thinking is this? All of art and culture in the U.S. is coming to a dead halt because of this hysteria. Okay, so anyway, I'm back. Okay, all right. So, all right. My God. All right. So I've been looking forward for years to getting my third essay collection out. My last one was Vamps and Tramps in 1994. Okay, all right, so all these years have passed, and my third essay collection was part of the package deal with my publisher, Knopf Doubleday, with Glittering Images. So it's been years I've been waiting. Finally, I thought, at last, I'll get so many essays, which I've written, important essays, I feel, which are scattered all over the world, in one place, at last. But instead, okay, as I'm assembling all the material, my publisher says, gee, all these things, that you were saying 20, 25 years ago about sex and gender seem like they belong now. So they had this idea, they invented this book, okay, they culled these essays off of the mass of the other things I wanted out, right, and put it into this book. Okay, so it took me a long time. I had to, go through everything I'd ever written, and I presented them, the editors, with this pile of stuff on these subjects of sex, gender, and feminism. And then they decided what would be, they thought would be most interesting to contemporary readers because of how prophetic I was, about so many issues, including, okay, the growth of that parasitic, master class of administrators in college campuses. This is one of my big themes. Okay, I was one of the first, send up probably the first to send this warning shot up about it. I said, watch out, okay, this bureaucracy, that is slowly, expanding and getting his tentacles into the operations of colleges and universities. And look what's happened. Okay, absolutely, the faculty has totally lost power. The faculty are eunuchs. Okay, the faculty in this country have not. What have they ever said? Where have they stood up? Okay, against all these incursions on free speech, free thought species? Nothing. They're all they pose as leftists. None of them are leftists. This is a delusion. Okay, they're bourgeois careerists who latched on to leftism as a wonderful badge. Oh my God. Okay, and I know because when I entered graduate school in 1968, okay, there weren't any leftists. Okay, the leftists didn't go to graduate school. Are you kidding me? Okay, if there was anyone who was really, kind of a radical, they dropped out after a semester or two. In fact, I'll give you an example. When I my last year of college, I went to Harper College, State University of New York at Binghamton. And they used to call it Berkeley East, as a matter of fact. There were so many radicals. It's all these like incredibly progressive Jews, from New York City. Oh my God, I was like, because I'm from upstate. I'm an upstate girl. So the girls, they were dressed in black leotards, Martha Graham leotards. They knew about abstract art and so on. They were absolutely radical. They're fabulous. Anyway, so I know what a real radical looks like. Seething real radical looks like. And when I was confronted by the leader of the campus radicals in my last semester of college. And they said, we heard, okay, that you're going to the Yale graduate school. And I said, yeah, okay. All right. And they said, no, you don't go to Yale. Okay. In fact, you don't even go to graduate school. Okay. If you're going to go to graduate school, you have to go to Buffalo, SUNY Buffalo. Now, I actually would have been, I actually applied to Buffalo and would have been very happy to have gone there because it had Leslie Fiedler, okay, who was an extremely radical writer in the forefront of all these studies about racism, sexism, and homophobia, okay? Huge influence on me, okay, huge influence. And also there was Norman Hollins, okay, who did psychoanalytic criticism at a time when it was not, fashionable during the period of the declining new criticism. All right, so I would have gone there, but I chose Yale because of the library. And I made the right choice because the library, Sterling Library, is indeed the basis of all of my work. I ransacked the stacks, okay, of that library. But I just want to point out to you, okay, that, that my going to graduate school was regarded as in some way, offensive to radical politics, right? And my choosing of Yale, it was in particular, was intolerable. Right? So this idea, and then the people around me, my fellow students, they were progressive tending, I would say. But the idea that any of those people, okay, were actual radicals is such a joke, okay? Right? As they trim themselves to fit into the wonderful, career system moving up. So I was there. By my third year at Yale, as this stuff, the French theory started leaking in, okay, from the yearly visits from Derrida, okay, right, and it was brought in. This plague was brought in, okay, from Johns Hopkins, University, okay, right. So I saw it starting, and I remember saying to a fellow student, I said, they're like high priests murmuring to each other, okay. I saw the disgusting elitism, okay, of post-structuralism from the start. The idea that is any kind of a leftist system is absolute nonsense, okay? All right? So you mean well, I don't want to start naming names already, do I? Do I really want to? All right, but I've been on the attack against the queen of gender studies, Judith Butler, okay? Now, Judith Butler, okay, presents herself as the great leftist. She's at Berkeley right now, and so on and so on. But she practices post-structuralism, okay? This labyrinthine, contorted, jargon-ridden thing, the most elitist system in the world. What does that have to do with leftism? Okay? This is a woman, okay, who, now I knew her because when I arrived at my first job at Bennington College, I was there right out of graduate school, 1972 on. And she entered Bennington maybe a year or two after that. So I knew her, okay, as a student. She's like a smart, okay, but what can I say, okay, sweet and quirky individual, okay? In no way, okay, was Judith Butler ever, okay, an opponent of any system. Never did she challenge any system, okay, at all, okay? Whereas I was in constant trouble at Bennington as a professor. They finally kicked me out of there after 7 or 8 years. After it was like one incident after another. I was either kicking someone, or having a fist fight, or doing some, it was like just endless. I was, police. When I came on the scene and people said, oh, she's too much. I went, oh my God, I am a shadow. Okay, by 1990, when I came on the scene in 1990, I was a shadow of what I was. Amazon feminist, at Bennington as a teacher. Anyway, so I knew Judith Butler, okay, and she wasn't even in my classes, but I had her, some of her girlfriends, were in my classes. And so anyway, she transferred to Yale. She transferred to Yale in the middle of the and Bennington at that moment was in the David Bowie, transgender, okay, flamboyant moment. But they had huge influence on me, enormous David Bowie, on me of that period. She transfers to Yale, okay. At the very moment as post-structuralism is the hip thing to do, okay. It's very hip. In no way was it some sort of an act of defiance or resistance, okay. She adapted herself to the smoothly careerist thing, post-structuralism, which has destroyed the humanities, okay? Absolutely destroyed it. Now, in my present book, there is a reprint of what I wrote for the Chronicle of Higher Education, which was a review about, when was it, like 2013 maybe? Okay, they asked me to review 3 new books by women, young women academics on the trendy new thing of bondage and domination, bondage and domination. Okay, and these are books from university presses. So I didn't know what to expect. And my essay, which is a lengthy and detailed essay in the book, okay, demonstrates that how post-structuralism has destroyed a whole generation of young scholars, maybe 2 generations now. All right, these young women, each one of their voices, you can feel their personalities, okay? So these are lively women, okay? Lively, optimistic, idealistic women. And the horrible freight they have to carry in order to try to get a job, okay, in this profession with so few jobs, because there's all kinds. I mean, the bottom dropped out of the teaching profession like in the 1970s, basically. Okay, so in order to preserve any kind of job opportunity for themselves, they have to mouth platitudes about Foucault, as Foucault so powerfully said. Okay, on and on and on. I mean, you can't believe these books are ruined. Okay, there's one book in particular that I really lament in this essay, okay, which is about dominatrixes, okay, of big city brothels. Okay, and she went and did actual, field research, in it. A fabulous book that should have been published by a trade, press. To a general audience with all but the crap that's in there, okay? The gobbledygook, okay? All right? Actually, even in the preface, this young woman says, and I want to thank my professor, blah, 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 at Princeton, okay, for telling me that possibly Pierre Bourdieu, okay, had much to say, about dominators. He had nothing to say about dominatrixes, okay? That guy has, he's absolutely required reading for undergraduates. The guy's a fraud. Okay, he knows not. This is a guy who knows nothing about the history of the arts. It's like this. These pretentious theory. People, the amount of time that students are wasting at the undergraduate and graduate level, okay, reading this crap, okay, this post-structuralist crap, okay, and then having to read critics in English trying to imitate the contorted sound of a translated, into English version of a French original. Okay, that's what's out there right now. Okay, I mean, and they all go to conferences and they mirror back, to each other in the same discourse. Right? And wait, and there's a whole style you have to get. It's a kind of superior. There's a superior kind of snide style you have to get. Very knowing, slightly smirking. Superior. Okay, it's sick. It's an absolute sickness. Okay, parents are bankrupting themselves. Okay, to send their kids to the Ivy League to have this junk injected into their heads. Okay, and then we wonder why. Okay, the arts are the American arts are so boring. Even the popular arts are now boring. Okay, even the popular arts can't get it right. Like this week, this past week, In Despair. Okay, this much touted series. Okay, starring Susan Sarandon, whom I love, okay? Jessica Lange, a great actress, okay? Joan Crawford versus Bette Davis. Okay, they can't even get that right, okay? I mean, the films are there. It's like the production, the clothing, the sets, the direction, the writing, every single thing shoddy, crappy. Okay, this is what we're surrounded by. This is why I only watch now Turner Classic Movies, the great things of the past, to watch great production values. All right. R.I.P. Robert Osborne, okay, one of the great connoisseurs of film. My goodness. All right. At any rate, okay, for 25. Oh my God, how long I've been going on about these things. And both the left and the right are guilty of ignoring the problems of the universities. Okay, I blame William F. Buckley, okay, as well. Okay, none of them took it seriously. They said, oh, post-structuralism, it's a fad, it'll go away. I kept warning and warning. My own mentor, Harold Bloom, okay, when I was writing my expose about post-structuralism, junk bonds and corporate raiders, they took 6 months to do. It began as just a review of 2 books of classics books by these gay guys. Foucault, followers, and so on. I had no idea. I thought I was going to give them a positive review, and then I saw the horror, okay, of the Foucault world. And I spent 6 months doing this. Even my mentor, Harold Bloom, said to me, you're wasting your time. Okay, you're wasting your time. This was the attitude of the senior professors. You're right. You're wasting your time to try to reform the academy, okay? All right? So the entire professoriate, okay, the liberals and the conservatives ignored this. They kept on saying it's going to go away, it's going to go away. Well, no, it didn't, okay, because once the bottom fell out of the job market in the 1970s, suddenly you had this system, okay, where you have, it's essentially a system of servitude, where young faculty members have got to talk the talk, okay, have got to show, okay, that they believe in the same things that their superiors do. Now, where I really noticed the drop-off in quality of scholarship was when I was doing Glittering Images, my last book, which came out 5 years ago. Okay, so for that I chose it was like something like 29 works of art, whatever. Okay, and for each work I ended up with, I read through all of the available scholarship and writing commentary on it. Okay, so I began chronologically and I would work through, okay, to the present. Every single case, okay, oh my God, it was so obvious, okay. My great period is that of the late 19th century into the mid-20th century, the great period of German philology and British classical scholarship, which had like a great woman, Jane Harrison, one of the important figures of the Cambridge School of Anthropology and so on. I love that period. I love the wonderful lucidity of the prose of those great British classicists of the first part of the 20th century and so on. Okay, so that's my period. So when you anything about that for the older works of art, my goodness, okay, the incredible depth of and breadth of the erudition and the ability to articulate, to use this graceful English that has lasted to today. All right, so I would move through, and without fail, in every single case, okay, by the time, the last thing worth reading, okay, in art history, about anything, okay, it's like the 1960s, okay, the 70s, okay, it starts to weaken. By the 80s, the horror of post-structuralism has set in, okay, and by the 90s, it's a complete crap. You cannot believe the books that are published. Now, there will be books, okay, that are of good quality scholarship in a very narrow area. You will find good monographs by specialists, okay, in this last period. But the entire broad learning, the broad vision that you need to be an undergraduate teacher, I might point out, okay, that's what you absolutely need, the big trans-historical vision, okay, but no, the narrative of art history is now declared specious, okay, so because now we have this new things like new historicism, where you take like a little thing here, you just choose one thing at random here, choose one thing at random here, one thing at random there, and then you mix them all together, and you make a few clever gestures toward it, and that's your form of, it's fraud, an absolute fraud, okay? All right. And so you know what they've abandoned? They've abandoned those great survey courses, the art history survey courses, first semester, Stone Age, going halfway, all the way down, second semester, to modernism, to abstract expressionism, and so on. They've abandoned that, okay? All right, it's considered naive, too naive for our super sophisticated post-structuralists, okay, you see? Oh no, we don't want to do that, okay? All right, please. All right, and so what we want to do is our narrow little specialty areas like that. So they can't even find faculty members, young faculty who are trained to think in these great historical periods like that. So what's the end result? Is that students have absolutely no historical sense whatever, okay? We're afflicted with what's called presentism, okay? That is this focus on the present. I mean, I'm always complaining, like Susan Sontag. You know, I always say, Susan Sontag knew nothing before the Enlightenment. That's it, okay? Post-Enlightenment, fine, okay? Post-French Revolution, better, okay? But she had no broad vision of anything. The old universal scholarship, or the aspiration toward universal scholarship, is completely gone. This is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? I mean, those survey courses, the timeline of it is very helpful to young people to get a sense of human history, okay? Right? So it's another reason why young people get so upset by current politics, okay? Is because they have no sense that, you know what the history of the world has been? Empires rising and empires falling into nothing but ruins. And this huge cycle of things happening. And so an election that happens, a temporary election, is not the end of the world. It's not the apocalypse, okay? Regroup and try again. Hello? Okay, all right. You know, everyone says, oh no, there's nothing but the present, nothing but, or more specious, okay, is like, once there was a utopia. In fact, everywhere but here in America is a utopia, okay? And therefore, there are problems with America, okay? Wow, problems. Oh, hello, okay? The horrors of history have been totally hidden from young people. Do you know that? The banality of public school education today, absolute emptiness. Okay, sorry, I'm going to deafen you. All right, so, all right. The banality. Okay, this picture of human life, everyone nice. Okay, niceness. Okay, is the answer in the public school education. Now, no bullying. Okay, all right. Treat everyone nice. Be absolutely open and tolerant. Never make any judgments, etc. Okay? But the actual hard facts of human history and world geography, I might point out, all right, they know nothing. They know nothing, okay, all right? And I'm in a good position, you see, to judge this because I am not teaching at Penn, okay? I am not teaching, thank God, I am not teaching at any of the big elite schools where they get the feeders coming from all the private schools and the best suburban schools, so they're getting the best, the brightest, the eager beavers, everyone perfect, everyone good, they're very good, and all that. And so, no, I'm getting like aspiring artists who come from a huge variety of educational backgrounds. So I have people from good suburban school districts. I also have people from inner city, brilliant dancers, jazz musicians, and so on. I have people from farms, in North Carolina, and so on. Okay, so I'm able to judge the general degeneration, okay, of American public school education, and I'm able to compare it to contrast it with European public school education. Okay, so when I go to Europe, there's a sense of general cultural knowledge. I don't want to enshrine Europe at all. I think we're far more open society than Europe is. Nevertheless, the level of education, okay, of general cultural education that is standard in Europe, okay, it puts to shame what's happening in the United States, okay? The students know absolutely nothing, okay? I mean literally nothing. I remember standing on the stage, from one of my books, and talking about my shock when, let me just tell that story, okay? And it's getting worse. This happened maybe 15 years ago. I have a course which I invented called The Art of Song Lyrics. And I have a section of the course that's on the great Negro spirituals of the late 19th century. Okay, so I was doing one of my favorite ones, for them, "Go Down Moses," okay, which I've done many times. I give them the lyric, we listen to it, we talk about the lyric, and then we listen to it again. Okay, so it's one case. I was going on and on. I thought I was feeling something's wrong. I could tell I wasn't communicating, and I didn't know why. And it suddenly hit me, to my horror. They did not recognize the name Moses, okay? And that's what's happened. Secular humanism is a big bust. I'm telling you now, okay? All right, because if you take religion away, then politics becomes a religion, okay? Dogma becomes a religion, and that's what's happened, okay? All these enlightened parents want to raise their children without any, religious contact, and the end result is inability to recognize the great myths, the great stories, the great legends of the West, okay? So that was very disturbing. But then I recently, the past fall, I would normally, I'm talking to the class. I'm always reading, their faces and so on. And I suddenly had this sense that not the entire class, but a good proportion of the class was not recognizing the name Hitler. Okay. And I thought afterward, why should they? Why should they? Think about it. These are kids born 17, 18 years ago, right? Okay, so we're talking about the turn of the century. Hitler for them, 30s and 40s, that would be like World War I for me, who grew up, after World War II. And we knew nothing about World War I. So why should they know about Hitler? Okay, but, excuse me, okay, this is should be basic knowledge, but the public schools don't want to teach that because that would be upsetting. You don't want to ever upset young people. No, we don't want to upset them with anything. So we'll have happy talk, okay, in the school about the universal benevolence of mankind. Not a good idea, okay, in my view. I think students should be exposed to the horrors of history, okay, and to the disasters of history. I think it's exactly what they need. Okay, and so the people wonder, how do we get this snowflake generation where they can't tolerate anything? It's because of the pablum that they're being taught at the public school level, okay? All right, there's an entire system that now is devoted to grinding everything down into gruel, okay? We don't want to offend anyone, okay? All right, so I'm always saying, my prescription for education always is, start in the most distant, the most antiquity. Okay, so they love the stories of ancient Egypt and so on. Show the great empires, with all the artworks and talk about the great trajectories, of history. And I've also been saying, and I'm an atheist, I've been saying that the best multiculturalism, the optimal one, it puts comparative religion, the great world religions, at the center. I have been saying that for 25 years. Right? That the true world understanding will only come from an exploration of the religious background, of the peoples of the world. That the main texts, the main belief systems, the holy spots, the artifacts. It's a great interdisciplinary way to teach culture. Okay, by talking about because that. Another thing I'm always saying is that was actually the essence of the 1960s that's been lost. So one of those essays that I was hoping to finally get out, it won't be until next year now, is this essay I wrote, and it's now, it was probably 2003 when it was published, and it's called Cults and Cosmic Consciousness, the religious vision of the American 1960s, which has been completely forgotten. All people look back and all they see is the politics of the 60s. They don't see the cosmic perspective, okay, and the way so a whole generation turned away from the career system, turned away from materialism, okay, and sought spiritual enlightenment. All right, that was bigger than politics, okay? All right, so what's happened, that's all that's left from the 60s is this idea of social reform, which is very important, okay? But that's not the whole of human life. If for people who are not religious or come from a secular home, they don't have any of this, the metaphysics, okay, of the cosmic vision, okay? So that's why I think teaching religion is a very good idea. Now, and by the way, if my prescription had been adopted, we wouldn't have all this chaos and confusion about Islam today. People would know about it. They would know the holy text and be able to talk about it. Contradictions in the text, or this group follows this part, or this group follows that part. Okay, so everybody is is talking in this blank zone, okay, of total lack of knowledge of these very passionate belief systems that are out there, okay? And I'm always warning, I've been warning for years, okay, that the West should not repeat the mistake of the Roman Empire, okay? The Roman Empire got very comfortable and tolerant in its late phases. I mean, very sophisticated, okay? Open to homosexuality and to all kinds of things. Very and there was nothing at the heart of it, okay? There was no passionate belief at the heart of imperial Roman culture, except political power, by Rome itself, right? So into that vacuum, what came? Hello, class. What came from Palestine? Okay, this very passionate belief system, all right? Christianity, okay, came and spread because of the hollowness, okay, of that very tolerant secular lifestyle of imperial Rome. And here we are 2,000 years later, and Christianity is thriving. So I'm always warning, okay, if you believe in nothing, okay, nothing but a certain comfort level, and you're tolerant to everything, and there's a system out there that is passionate and militant. Okay, it's the passion, okay, the belief system, that is passionate that is going to win. So I'm keep warning. Okay, right. So for me, the remedy is always education, better education, broader education, deeper education. Okay, but anyway, okay. Now what else? Okay. All right. So I was telling you, okay, my editors put together the book. Okay. And there are things in here in the book, okay, which some things people would know, but other things I've been writing in the last few years, okay, for like Time magazine and so on, op-eds, and one in particular issue that nobody is talking about but me apparently is this stupid age 21 law, okay, that was passed in the mid-1980s, where young people in America can't go out and buy a beer, okay? All right, they have to. And meanwhile, okay, what did that produce? Did you know the only countries in the world that have as strict a rule about that are very repressive Muslim regimes in Qatar and so on? All right, I mean, in Europe, young people can buy alcohol. They're 14, 15. They learn how to drink. All right, now the disastrous cultural effects of that law, I point out, okay, is that once young people in college could go, men and women could go to a bar, sit at a table in a public place over a cheap beer and flirt with each other, learn how to converse in adult context in a protected zone. What happened? The minute that law happened, mothers against drunk driving. Mind your own business is what I say to them, okay? I mean, for heaven, all right. So what was the end result, okay? The fraternity parties, keg parties, okay? Unsophisticated, oafish, Dionysian routes, okay? That's what happened, okay? Big keg, now they're all drinking like this and so on. What kind of conversation? What kind of sophistication are you going to get at a noisy fraternity party, okay? The whole art of conversation, of flirting, gone. Immediately what happened in the 80s, the date rape furor started. Immediately. All of a sudden, by the late 80s, you're getting all this, okay, wait, do it again, how many minutes? 3 minutes. Oh, 3 minutes, all right, okay, all right. So I say, it's going to be the Q&A, don't worry, okay. So I say, okay, all right, this is ridiculous, and another thing, young people need, okay, to, step over into delirium in some way, okay, and so what, you begin getting the pills, okay, all right, Molly, all that stuff, okay, things from off the street, okay, wonderful, okay, that's a big improvement, okay, all right, you start getting the raves and so on, so their brains are pickled from that crap. What's wrong with alcohol? It goes back thousands of years, okay, beer, wine, and now today, margaritas, and so scotch and sodas, and so whiskey sours, and so on. All right. And another thing, like you get drunk, it's too much. Okay, you don't want to drink a whole bottle of tequila. Okay, but what I'm saying is there's a hangover. It goes. Okay, all the other crap stays in the brain. Okay, the kids their brains are pickled from all that stuff. Okay, and now adding with the antidepressants. The entire professional class in Manhattan is on all those antidepressants. Go have a beer. Okay, is what I say. I mean, what is I can remember, okay, and recently I was looking at like 1940s movies, and I would see like the men would go into the bar to have a beer, and it would be like little 6-ounce glasses, 6 ounce. And that's what we had in college. So I actually went on Amazon and I found them, okay? I found the 6-ounce glasses. And I thought, this is great, okay? Because today with the mugs, they give you a big mug. Well, by the time you get halfway, it's warm. Who wants the warm half of the, So if you have the 6 ounces, okay, you keep getting the nice frothy, nice cold beer and so on. I thought, let's go back to the 6 ounces. That's what we had, in college, right? And so that's how young people learn to be adults, okay? And actually, after I wrote this, one of my, my gay students said to me how he lamented that particular law, okay, because he said in the old days, he said obviously, older gay men, okay, were, a great help, to the younger gay men. The younger gay men learned about gay culture through conversations in bars. Now, he said, young gay men, here he is in the gay neighborhood, the gay district is where my university is, and so on. And to get sex or to flirt with anyone, it's being done on Tinder, right? All of a sudden, you're matching up to have sex, okay? But there's no conversation, okay? Conversation is gone. Now that is a cultural disaster, okay, to American young people, not to have environments, adult environments, where you can just take the edge off with a little alcohol, okay, and converse, okay, in a rational way, okay? It's going on all the time. That's what, for heaven's sakes, existentialism, all those things began in Parisian, places where people are drinking a glass of wine, etc. So again, the provincialism of our culture, okay? I want that rule, okay, abolished. They're selling marijuana in Colorado, okay, and you can't get it, and young people can't walk into a bar here in Philadelphia. It's outrageous. I want you to be outraged by it, all right? Okay, anyway, all right.
Hello, forgive my ignorance, but could you please explain what post-structuralism is?
Oh, I love that, okay. I love that. Well, it's simply a system that began with there are three big names, okay, of French theorists who kind of took over American academe in the 1970s and 80s. And it was Jacques Derrida, Jacques Lacan, and Michel Foucault, okay? And I was on a campaign against them in this whole style for a very long time, and I think, we managed to get rid of Lacan and Derrida, thank God, but Foucault is very, very entrenched, okay? It's a long, you can, my first essay, my long expose of post-structuralism is called Junk Bonds and Corporate Raiders. It's in my first essay collection, okay, which is Sex, Art, and American Culture. And I show, okay, and quote, from it, so you can see what it's like. Right, but basically, it's a system of analyzing everything in the world, literature and history and everything, from the point of view of language alone. Okay, it's based on what to me is an outmoded linguistic system associated with Fernand Saussure. Okay, it's completely outmoded. Okay, and so what you're getting now in gender studies, everywhere in gender studies in college campuses, thanks to Judith Butler, okay, the post-structuralist, you're getting this idea that everything in gender is merely something that's been refracted through language. There's no biological substratum that defines gender in any way. We are blank slates at birth. We are inscribed by society's pressures. Okay, so it's basically a Rousseauist idea. It goes back to Rousseau. It's not worth even going into, except that it's absolutely epidemic everywhere, okay? And I keep on repeating this, it's destroyed the humanities, absolutely destroyed, okay? There is absolutely no room for appreciation, celebration of art, okay? Psychology, there's no psychology left, anywhere, okay? There's not even a sense of history, okay? Because despite what all the post-structuralists think, Foucault was absolutely ignorant about history. He knew nothing about anything before the Enlightenment, just like Susan Sontag, okay? The two of them should have been happy, going together hand in hand, okay, into the sunset. Okay, oh, sorry, okay, I didn't mean, there probably are Sontag admirers here, sorry, okay. All right, but, all right. And there's no way to explain exactly why people, were so credulous about Foucault, except that they're not going to be interested in this. All right, the old new criticism that was in place when I was in college focused exclusively on the internal qualities of literary works. Okay. And there's no doubt that late new criticism, which was going on when I was in college, had become much too narrow, okay, and did not allow for psychological exploration or historical context. So definitely those two things should have been added to the new criticism. Instead, what came into the vacuum was this, okay, which actually it only works. Post-structuralism only works on narrative. It only works on the novel, if it works at all, which I say it does not. Okay, it's all about narrative. Well, therefore, post-structuralism can do nothing with poetry. Nothing. Can't do a single thing with with a poem. Can't do a single thing with an artwork. So at one point, Foucault quotes has a Velázquez painting. So every post-structuralist person mentions this one painting. Oh, please. Okay. Again, he knew nothing about the arts. So to me, it's completely valueless as a system, but it's absolutely compulsory. Post-structuralism, if you expect to rise in America, in American academia today in the humanities. Absolutely compulsory, okay? And I am so lucky to be teaching at the art schools where we are free of that plague, completely free of it. Now and then, a young faculty member will arrive, okay? And I go, oh no, here it comes, okay? And then they don't want to be at the University of the Arts because we deal with art. We don't deal with Foucault. We deal with art. We actually deal with with performance, with music, with the real material world, crafts and fibers and metals and all those things that Foucault can explain, okay, because it's all about language. All right, so then they all leave and they drift across the river and they end up at the Annenberg or at Penn. Haha. All right, so let them all cluster there, I say. Okay, sorry.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Makai Gamble. I wanted to know your view on marijuana.
Oh, well, I'm a libertarian, okay? That's my political philosophy. So I don't believe that the government has any right to intrude into any matter involving our personal bodies, okay, in any way. So therefore, I've argued for the not only for even though I do not partake of marijuana, I've argued for legalization of all drugs and also of legalization for prostitution as well, pornography, all things, abortion rights, the same thing. Okay, so that's my argument. Now I have to say, however, I am concerned about the total accessibility of marijuana because I don't believe it is actually problem-free. What I've said in my writing is that I believe that marijuana has been fabulous for the development of jazz. Okay, all right. All right. I mean, the whole bebop, cool jazz, and so on. There's where it has a term. I think in the realms of music and creativity, the beat poets who are enormous idols for me, same thing, etc. But I'm not so sure it's problem free. Insofar as marijuana is still found in the system. A month later they can still detect it as opposed to alcohol, which flushes. So I'm concerned about in so many cases of train accidents. They found that when they do the drug tests afterwards that there's evidence that marijuana was smoked. So and also I've gotten personal testimony from students of my own, okay, who say who claim that I used to be a very good student in the 10th grade, and then I started smoking marijuana. I can't remember things. So I don't know. I don't know whether marijuana should be regarded as liberating and removing the brain from the highly conceptual and categorized Western system, okay? Whether it shows ultimate reality or whether it's its own reality that kind of removes people, from their workaday requirements. I don't know. But anyway, I think the government has no business interfering. I think that rules for people who are responsible for public safety. I think if you choose to be a train engineer, you should not be smoking marijuana. Okay, or go out and have a bender, with alcohol. But by the time you turn up for work, it'll be flush. So that's my opinion. Okay.
Dr. Paglia, you're one of my favorite authors. You may be glad or sorry to know that right next to you, in my bookshelf with my various Bibles, which I like above, and Moby Dicks below, is Foucault.
Oh, you're an admirer? Are you an admirer of Foucault?
I am, to be a contrarian to the contrarian.
Do you read him in French or English?
Only English, I'm afraid.
All right,
I'm not that erudite yet.
All right.
So the validity that I get from Foucault is that I see the rise of various institutions, prisons, hospitals, madness. I think that his way of analyzing it makes sense, even though it is based on language and not on some synthesis of the Apollonian and the Dionysian. I'd like you to comment on that.
Well, I pointed out in Junk Bonds and Corporators that the analysis of prisons, it's not something that Foucault invented, okay? That is, the system of prisons was already explored by Emile Durkheim, and that's one of my criticisms of him, okay, is that people who read Foucault believe that he is making these things up himself, and he isn't. I myself had already read Durkheim, okay, before I came to Foucault, and that's why I realized that this is like just a little fragment of Durkheim that's been spun out, okay? And the same thing, Irving Goffman, who's a huge influence on me, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, okay, very great American sociologist. It is Foucault's primary source that he also hid, okay? So in case after case after case, right, I would maintain, if I could speak to you long enough, okay, that the points that you think, that you like, that are coming from Foucault, actually he had stolen, okay, from elsewhere, okay? And forget Foucault and just go read Durkheim, etc., okay? That's what I feel. William Blake, for heaven's sake. William Blake, the great romantic poet, okay, an artist, okay, in his system, okay, he has the whole mental system, the conceptual framework of Foucault, okay? All right? So to me, Foucault is a fraud, okay? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that, okay? I didn't mean to say that to you as an admirer, okay? And I think it's simply that I had done so much research already and reading in sociology, before, okay? Which is why Foucault to me is insufficient, okay?
Hi, Camille.
Hi.
How do you feel about the popularity of yoga and Eastern studies now?
Well, this was a huge movement, the New Age movement coming out of the 60s. I mean, sometimes I call myself a New Age, intellectual because I was so influenced by all the Eastern systems that had been absorbed in the 1960s. So Hinduism, Zen Buddhism we got as an interest from the beat poets and so on. But all these things, okay, like everything, yoga. I mean, astrology is totally gone. Okay, I used to be passionately interested in I still have my textbooks, on my shelves. I don't practice it anymore. But all of these sort of pseudosciences or actual practices, okay, that emerge from the East, I take extremely seriously. I think that's been a very important part, of the period following the 60s. Unfortunately, New Age as a term has gotten a little bit tarnished. People think of it as a little bit flaky, and not to me. I embrace it. Okay, and I feel that's we're actually in that. Much more important than Foucault is yoga. Okay, all right.
I really love your passion. I wish I could put it in a bottle and drink from it. It sounds like you want to say that we should make America great again. But I think America wasn't so great for most of us, including women. But it also sounds like you're saying we're miseducating our youth, but yet they're capable of creating such amazing things that make life so much better. Everything from Lyft, and all these apps, the smartphones. So how do you explain that their success?
Wait, I'm not quite clear what your question is.
How do you explain the success of? You're saying the young aren't getting a very good education, but they're creating Uber.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Technology, okay, is where the creativity is. That's what I'm saying. I said that actually in my last book. But this is it's unfortunate to me that this is where that the imagination of young people is only in the refinements of technology, okay, rather than in what I'm talking about in terms of the culture and metaphysics and this kind of cosmic vision that the 1960s once have. I'm always saying, in fact, that's what I was arguing in my last book tour, that the true art objects today is not the crap that's in galleries, okay, all right, contemporary art. I think it's just a very derivative, overpriced, pretentious junk, right now. The real artworks are in the constantly changing iPhones, and that what we're seeing is a triumph of the crafts. That's what I'm saying. The crafts have triumphed now over the fine arts, which actually once had a psychological or spiritual dimension. Okay, and that's why the last chapter of my last book was about George Lucas's Star Wars. Okay, because I think he was very futuristic. Okay, not only was he very important in developing all kinds of computer technology, all kinds of things that he did, including the quality of sound in movie theaters and so on. All right, but it's all this. He's very undervalued. He's not considered. I called George Lucas in my last book, the great greatest living artist, and to me far greater than any other artist, practicing the traditional, fine arts, painting, and so on. No, absolutely. To me, it's a tragedy. Okay, that young people are moving only into that area of, when in fact there's a huge dimension of art, of knowledge of art, exposure to art. Okay, that's missing. Okay, because they haven't been taught art in the right way. Okay, and for me, okay, it's not just. I don't like what I don't like is where young people are taught to simply see the problems in America. That's all I'm saying. Okay, what I'm asking for, the true multiculturalism, okay, is teaching world history, world geography, the world cultures, the world traditions, okay? So I don't like it, I feel that the young people are the present. They are the present. And teachers should not take on themselves the idea of telling young people anything about the present. It is the function of teachers to present the past to them, okay? Everything that led to now, which means starting way back, okay? Like my current project I've been working on now for, it's 9 years now, is Native American presence in Pennsylvania, okay? I'm very interested in the vanished tribes that preceded the European contact. At the period, particularly after the glacier withdrew, okay, and I feel there's everything I've done a lot of reading in this period, all this in these years, and I feel that there's a lot that's missing, okay, from the accounts of Native American presence here. Incredible, there's something that happened here. It's visible everywhere. I'm finding large constructions. I'm finding modifications of the landscape. I'm finding artifacts, okay? This is like, it's a passion of mine. Eventually I want to write a book about it. So, I feel that my vision is very comprehensive because it's global, okay? It's really global. And I think to prepare young people to live in a global culture, we need to present global history to them, okay? I want to know all the traditions, okay? All the great traditions, okay? Chinese traditions, African traditions, and everything, okay? And instead, we get this obsessive focus on the present and the recent past, and it's leading to a very, tremendously distorted, I think, view of reality and of human life.
I'd like to hear your take on the sex change operation mania.
All right. Well, I say in the introduction to the new book. Okay, I quote, like someone asked me recently, how do I identify? How would I describe myself in terms of contemporary categories? And I said, just spontaneously, I said I would call myself non-gendered entity. That's what I said, non-gendered entity. And most people are focusing on the gender part, but what about the entity part? Okay, I'm saying in effect, okay, that I feel that I straddle borderlines in the sexes, okay, as well as in species as well. I mean, I think part of the power of my observations is that I kind of see things almost from a primitive, borderline animalistic in a way. That's why I understand sex crime much better than most feminists, and why I realize how women expose themselves to dangers, okay, because I'm sort of seeing with a kind of criminal animal eye, and so on. How do I, well, so, however, I'm also expressing concern in the introduction to my book about what's in the air right now, which is that if you don't feel at one with your gender assignment, the only remedy is to take hormones and have sex surgery, okay? And I'm very worried about that because I know that if this were in the air when I was young, when I was 8, 9, 10, I would have been convinced that was the answer for my sense of alienation from my gender. I would have been convinced, I'm really a man, okay? And that's what I need to do. I need to go in that direction. And the problem with this is that unlike other fads or trends, okay, there's no going back from this one, okay? All right. So what I've said is, okay, sex change surgery may open one door, but it closes many others, okay? And I am really worried about the propaganda that's in the air that encourages even young people to be experimenting with the hormones, because those hormones are making changes, fundamental changes in your brain and in your neurochemistry. I don't believe in taking any pharmaceuticals, for heaven's sakes. Okay, pharmaceuticals, you don't know where they're made. Okay, these days, and most of them are made in China with polluted water and had lead and every kind of heavy metal in there. For heaven's sakes, I mean, all right. And now we're saying, oh, good. Okay, you don't feel here. Take this. It's like it's another boondoggle for big pharma. Okay, as far as I can see. But I mean, it's not. I feel I'm a libertarian. Okay. I feel that anyone has the right to do whatever he or she wants to do with his or her own body. Okay, so I mean, whatever. Okay, go in any direction you want. But I am concerned that when the only voices expressing caution about this trend are coming from the right, from the conservatives, and not from the liberals. Now, I'm getting mail, actually, from, in fact, just yesterday I got another one, from a very, very concerned gay activist woman in the Northwest, okay, who used to be, very gung-ho on the transgender thing and is starting to encounter misery and problems of young women who cut their breasts off, okay, and it's now impossible to go the opposite direction, etc. Right? And so she just sent me another huge list of things, and she feels that this is an issue that is being neglected because people want to be understanding, they want to be tolerant, and they don't realize, okay, what are the consequences for people who are diagnosing themselves. And believing, okay, that a drastic change in their anatomy is the answer, okay, is the answer. And it could be, what I'm saying is that traditionally, going back thousands of years, okay, you have a tradition of shamans, shamanism, shamans, okay, or artists, okay, who are kind of sexually dual or sexually fluid in some way. That's like a tradition. It goes back, and many, many cultures have that. That the shaman is like a man who is a woman, and they served a certain function in communities. They were instrumental in the vision quest. They would have these dreams where the reality would be revealed to them, and they would come back to the tribe and tell them. So they functioned really as artists, right? So that it goes back through human history. However, okay. Is this what's happening right now? Okay, does every person who feels alienated from their body, in fact, is there a mission, a bardic mission? That is there some function that they are playing either for themselves or for others? Right? Instead, I see a lot of anger and attempt to control other people. Okay, and to change pronouns and to be very vindictive and vengeful. And I feel I'm concerned. I'm just very, very concerned. Okay. But I would happily describe myself as transgender. I would be very happy if there were a third option, on government ID cards where you could go other. I would go other, okay, because even to this day, okay, even though I've acclimated, I found other ways to be a person. I found other ways to develop my talents than changing my body, okay? I'm worried how reductive this is. I'm concerned about it, okay? All right? But despite the fact that I describe sexual personae in my first book as the biggest sex change in history, by the way. I don't know if you realize it. Right? That book is kind of my sex change. There it is, it's like hammers. Here it is, like hammering people, all right? And so on. You are my slave, okay? 700 pages of slavery, and so on. But I still, I still have moments of a tremendous reversion to that alienation. Like when I have to shop, okay? When I go to King of Prussia Mall and have to shop, I'll need something new, for whatever, a book tour or whatever, all right? And suddenly I realized, okay, I don't belong in this women's department, and I don't belong in the men's department. I don't know where I belong, okay? Who am I? This person for whom culture has no clothing whatever. There is not a single item of clothing here, anywhere, that I would want it on. Who am I? Okay, and so on. All right. And I think that's good for my work, okay? All right, so...
Please join me in thanking Camille Paglia.
All right.